Just first of all, just want to hear your thoughts on the biggest topic of the day, I think, today, which, contrary to some of the news broadcasters, I don't think is the earthquake in Afghanistan today. The Home Secretary is going to announce today, first day back, the House of Commons after the summer recess, tightening of rules for migrants granted asylum seeker status to bring their families to the UK. They've got to have a bit more money. They've got to be able to speak English. And Keir Starmer accusing Nigel Farage of scaremongering, and the Archbishop of York chiming in yesterday, criticising reform for what he called knee-jerk policies. Do any of these people get how the British people are actually feeling right now?
Well, much as I've got every sympathy and respect, actually, for senior members of the Church of England, it always seems that they're just out of kilter with the real world. And I'm afraid to say the Archbishop of York is one of these. Now, it wasn't until I was reading some reports over the weekend that I realised this ridiculous situation, that if you are a refugee that's just been given status, you can bring your family over immediately and you will be given priority accommodation.
Brilliant.
So let me give you this situation. So, you've got a Syrian refugee has paid his $3,000 or whatever it is to come across on a boat, and he's been in a 4-star hotel for a year and finally gets status. So he can then bring his wife and family over.
Oh no, not just his wife and kids.
I'm being kind. Okay, you can bring
parents, brothers, sisters, their families,
and you will be at the top of a local housing list. But should you be a Brit with a British passport and you have a Syrian wife, you are not allowed to do the same. I mean, it makes no sense.
Yep.
It seems that I know I try and avoid two-tier, but we've got almost two-tier status of living in the UK if you've got a British.
Yeah, I've spoken to loads of people who, say, they've fallen in love with someone, they're a Canadian, an American, or a French person, and they're not able to bring those people, their other halves here.
In my surgeries when I was an MP, you had, Brits with, as you say, an Australian or a New Zealand or a particularly, I don't know, US citizen seems to have a big problem.
Yeah.
And the people have been married for years and they've got their wife has suddenly had problems with their immigration status after 10 years.
Yeah.
And all this going on. So, yes, it is very bizarre. And it's one of those things that you don't really know until the surface.
Well, this is the thing. It seems to me, and we've got this sort of mini reshuffle going on with Keir Starmer in his government, but also his top communications team. And he's bringing in some people like Tim Allen, who did communications for Tony Blair. But, we're talking about ahead of 97. I mean, long time back. But it's been, senior figure in lobbying and advising top-level people in many years. He's a highly talented guy, knows his stuff. But is communication the issue? Because it seems to me that this government, and to a certain extent the Tory government of which you were an MP for, that they think that the problem is, A, we know about all of this. Nigel Farage keeps talking about all of this, and it's on the TV screens. And if everyone could just shut up about this, and we could maybe get the people out of hotels so there's not a focus, just put them in loads of different houses of multiple occupancy and hostels and no one really knows about it, then this whole problem would go away. But that suggests to me they don't get it. We don't want the knowing about it to go away. We want the actual fact of it to go away.
Yeah, I feel there's something different going on now, Julia. I mean, we've always been a little annoyed about the level of refugees, whether they're genuine ones or not. I think all of us knew that many of them were not genuine. And then you get the so-called refugee charities say, but 80% get approved at the end of the day. Well, I think there's something wrong with our legal system that allows an 80% approval.
And also, they don't get approved necessarily, they get leave to stay because there's no chance of getting rid of them. So it's not the same as actual asylum status. And most of them have actually been rejected in other countries in Europe.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The rejection across most of Europe, about 40 or 50% get approved. So where our 80% comes from, heaven only knows. I know we've been talking this morning about the state of our judges and legal system, which seems to be on a different planet from everyone else. I mean, I've always been very confused that on matters of ECHR, France and Germany and Spain and all the rest of the countries, Denmark, which is actually a bit of a left-leaning government, they're being infinitely tougher within the same strictures of the ECHR than we seem capable of.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the question. I mean, I'm very interested to see old Labour grandees like Jack Straw coming out today, actually sort of questioning in a similar basis that even I would, to say, well, this thing has morphed into something that was not meant to morph into. So if that is the problem, we need to do something about it. I have no doubt whatsoever we must leave the ECHR because it has morphed into an animal that does not do what it should do.
And do you think your party is going to get there?
Do I think my party will get there? Well, there is going to be a platform announcement, I believe, by Kemi at conference. I don't think there's any prizes for guessing which way that's going to.
Just finally, I want to ask you about the Archbishop of York, though. Stephen Cottrell, he's the acting head of the Church of England. He's just basically exactly the same frankly as the last few real heads of the Church of England, criticising, well, not just politicians, but pretty much anybody who has, that's what he's doing really, anybody who doesn't have a complete wokist view of the world, saying that Reform's policy announcement on dealing with migration was knee-jerk and was short term. It seems to me it was like the first policy that wasn't short term, one in, one out and things like that. That's short term, saying you come here, you're going to be out, end of, nothing to discuss. Mass deportations of legal migrants. That's about as long term as you can get, isn't it?
Well, I'd say it's very, very clear. And I think we do need some clarity on this whole issue of migration. But it's quite bizarre, isn't it? The previous incumbent of the Archbishop of Canterbury, I think he did say that he'd be taking a load of migrants in to sort of live with him because he's so nice. I don't think he ever did it.
But as a general rule, should the head of the Church of England...
Archbishop of York's going to do it either.
Well, should the head of the Church of England, acting or not, be putting their little tuppence worth into politics? He's also talking about how we need to end the two-child benefit gap because of poverty. I mean, what those people with more than 2 children could do is get a job and actually pay for their own kids. That would deal with the poverty issue, wouldn't it? Well, but I mean, they keep putting their noses into policies which the British public feel pretty strongly about.
No, you're absolutely right. They're sort of out of kilter with the British public. It's very rich from me, an unelected Conservative peer, to put my nose into politics. But
you're in the upper house of the political chamber that makes decisions.
I am, but it does seem that senior clergy do seem to want to get involved with politics. I perhaps suggest they take the cassock off and put their name on a ballot paper and see how they get on.
Lord Mackinlay, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate that. It's Conservative Lord Mackinlay.